There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide who they are really living for. Many people spend years running after approval, applause, and validation from others. They shape their dreams based on expectations, not desires. They adjust their steps to fit someone else's map. And while that may look good on the outside, it leaves them empty on the inside. But the day you wake up and say, I am doing this for me, that is the day everything changes. Doing it for yourself is not selfish. It is responsible. Because no one else will live your life, walk your path, or bear your consequences. You are the one who must carry the results of your decisions. So live in a way that honors your future, not someone else's opinion. When you work for approval, your energy is fragile. One criticism can break you. One rejection can stop you. One negative comment can freeze you in your tracks. But when you work for yourself, for your own growth, your own progress, your own future, you become unstoppable. Your motivation becomes internal. And internal motivation never runs out. You see, when you do something for others, the goal becomes performance. But when you do it for yourself, the goal becomes improvement. And improvement is a lifelong adventure. When you do it for yourself, discipline becomes easier. You don't wake up early because someone is watching you wake up early because you have a standard for your life. You don't learn new skills to impress people. You learn them to transform your future. You don't stay consistent because someone expects you to. You stay consistent because you expect more from yourself. Doing it for yourself frees you. It frees you from gossip because you no longer care who is talking. It frees you from comparison because you no longer measure yourself against anyone else. It frees you from pressure because you no longer chase someone else's ideal of success. The day you take responsibility for your own progress is the day your life starts upgrading. When you do it for yourself, you start choosing differently. You choose the harder path because you know the reward is worth it. You choose to delay gratification because your future deserves patience. You choose to say no to distractions because your goals deserve focus. Most people never discover the power of doing something for themselves. They live reactively. They wait for encouragement. They wait for inspiration. They wait for someone to cheer them on. But the truth is, you don't need more applause. You need more commitment. You don't need more validation. You need more vision. Do it for your vision, your dreams, your peace, your future. Success becomes more meaningful when you know you built it with your own hands, not for recognition, but for responsibility. When you achieve something for yourself, the reward is deeper. You walk differently. You speak differently. You think differently because you know the effort came from inside, not outside. People may not understand your journey. They may not understand your sacrifices. They may not agree with your decisions, and that's fine. Your life does not require their permission. You were not born to blend in. You were not born to satisfy expectations. You were not born to shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort. You were born to rise, to take your own path, to build your own success with intention, courage, and self-respect. So today, make a decision. Live for you. Work for you. Improve for you. Not because others demand it. Not because society expects it. Not because someone is watching. But because your future deserves someone strong enough to fight for it. And that someone is you. One of the greatest realizations in life is this simple truth. You are the one who has to live with the consequences of your decisions, not the people who comment on your life, not the ones who judge, criticize, or try to influence your direction. They may have opinions, but you are the one who must wake up each day and face the results of the choices you made. This understanding is the foundation of maturity and the birthplace of real personal power. Every choice you make shapes the next chapter of your life. Every decision becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. And the quality of your future depends on the quality of those decisions. That is why it is dangerous to let other people's opinions guide your path, because they will not deal with the consequences. You will. When you make decisions to impress others, you sacrifice your future for temporary approval. When you make decisions to avoid criticism, you shrink your potential to fit someone else's comfort. When you make decisions to look good in the moment, you trade long-term growth for short-term applause. The worst part, people's opinions change faster than the weather. Today they approve, tomorrow they don't. Today they cheer for you, tomorrow they question you. If you let their noise direct your steps, you'll spend your life zigzagging with no direction, no stability, and no peace. That's why the wise choose differently. They choose decisions that honor their future, not opinions, not pressure, not judgment. Honoring your future means choosing what is right, not what is easy. It means choosing what is necessary, not what is popular. It means choosing what is true to your values, not what earns you applause. Your future is not a distant place. It is the result of the habits, actions, and decisions you make today. If you want a powerful future, you must make powerful choices. If you want a peaceful future, you must make peaceful choices. If you want a free future, you must make disciplined choices. Most people do the opposite. They make decisions based on how they want others to perceive them. They live for the moment instead of the outcome. They take actions because they're being watched or judged or evaluated. And then years later, they wonder why their life feels misaligned, why they're unhappy, unfulfilled, or stuck. It's because they lived by someone else's script. But the moment you say, I am responsible for my results, everything changes. Responsibility is the gateway to freedom. When you take ownership of your choices, you gain control of your future. You start thinking differently. Will this decision help me grow? Will this action move me forward? Will this choice benefit my life 5 years from now? Will I be proud of this later? These questions build a life of intention instead of impulse. When you honor your future, you become more cautious about who you listen to. You understand that not every voice deserves access to your mind. Not everyone advising you has achieved what you aspire to. And certainly not everyone giving you feedback will have to carry the weight of your results. Remember, people can give opinions freely because there is no obligation attached. You, however, must pay the price, good or bad. You owe it to yourself to choose wisely. Honoring your future often means saying no to distractions, no to shortcuts, no to people who drain your energy. No to opportunities that look good but lack alignment. No to habits that comfort you today but destroy you tomorrow. And yes, it will make some people uncomfortable, but that discomfort is temporary. The payoff is permanent. Your future will thank you for every difficult decision you make today. Your future will thank you for every moment you resisted pressure and chose purpose. Your future will thank you for every time you followed your inner compass instead of outside noise. Make decisions with the version of you that you aspire to be. Act like someone your future self would be proud of. Let your potential, not people, guide your steps. Because at the end of the day, when the applause fades, when everyone goes home, when opinions shift, you are the one who must live with your results. So build a future you're proud to live in. Choose actions that align with your destiny. Live a life that reflects your standards, your values, and your vision. Do it for your future because your future is counting on you. There is a pattern mode. People never notice until they're older. They spend the early years of life trying to impress others, only to realize later that those same people either never cared, never remembered, or were too focused on their own problems to truly pay attention. The approval they worked so hard to gain didn't last, and in many cases it never mattered. That is the nature of outside validation. It is temporary, unpredictable, and unstable. Approval from others is like a vapor, visible for a moment, gone the next. You can build your entire day, year, or life around what people think and still lose it in an instant. A small mistake, a misunderstood action, or a shift in someone else's mood can turn applause into silence. When you depend on this kind of approval, you make your emotional stability fragile. You place your sense of worth in the hands of people who may not even remember your name 10 years from now. But approval from yourself, your own internal respect, your own sense of pride, your own recognition of your effort, that lasts. It is something no one can take away because you earned it and you maintain it. Self-approval comes from alignment. It comes from living according to your values, your standards, and your commitment. It comes from knowing you showed up the way you promised yourself you would. It comes from effort, honesty, discipline, and intention, not from applause. When you seek approval from others, you act for performance. When you seek approval from yourself, you act for principle, and principle always outlasts performance. Many people spend their lives chasing compliments. They alter their personality, their goals, their behavior, even their dreams just to hear someone say, "Good job," or "I'm proud of you." But here's the problem. If someone else's approval builds you, then someone else's judgment can destroy you. If someone else's praise lifts you, then someone else's criticism can drop you. True strength comes from internal validation, not external applause. Think of the moments in your life when you worked hard for something and earned a result purely because of your own commitment. Even if no one recognized it, you knew what you did. You felt the quiet pride that can't be bought, given, or borrowed. that feeling is worth more than 1,000 compliments. External approval demands conformity. Internal approval demands honesty. External approval is about being accepted. Internal approval is about being authentic. When you stop chasing approval, your life shifts. You act with clarity instead of fear. You choose goals based on meaning instead of convenience. You work with consistency instead of pressure. You make decisions because they are right, not because they will be praised. You become more confident, not because people say good things about you, but because you trust your own judgment. And that is the kind of confidence that lasts. To build self-approval, you must treat your life as a contract with yourself. Every time you follow through on a promise, your self-respect grows. Every time you act with discipline, your identity strengthens. Every time you make a decision that aligns with your values, even when it is difficult, you deepen your trust in yourself. One day of external validation can feel nice, but the satisfaction of personal alignment can sustain you for decades. People can change their opinion about you at any moment, but you cannot escape yourself. You cannot run from your own conscience, your own standards, or your own self-assessment. That's why the strongest foundation you can build is internal. When you know you are doing the right things for the right reasons, you stand firm, even when others disagree. You stay focused even when people misunderstand you. You remain consistent even when no one notices. Because your approval doesn't come from applause, it comes from integrity. Your life becomes easier when you stop performing and start living. When you stop trying to impress and start trying to grow. When you stop waiting for compliments and start giving yourself credit for your discipline, your progress, and your resilience. Approval from others is a bonus, not a requirement. Approval from yourself is essential. A person who respects themselves cannot be broken by opinions. A person who honors their values cannot be controlled by criticism. A person who is aligned with their own purpose cannot be distracted by noise. So choose the path that lets you look in the mirror with confidence. Live in a way that earns your own respect, not someone else's applause. Build a life where you can say, I did this my way, with integrity, with consistency, with intention. Approval from others fades. Approval from yourself lasts. And the person you become from that inner approval is someone no one can take away. There are two kinds of motivation. The kind that comes from people around you, and the kind that comes from within you. The first one can spark you, but only the second one can sustain you. External motivation is like a match, bright for a moment, then gone. Internal motivation is like a fire, steady, warm, and powerful enough to carry you through any season. Most people rely on encouragement to keep going. They wait for compliments. They wait for someone to cheer them on. They wait for support, validation, and inspiration. And while these things feel good, they are unreliable. You cannot build a great life on the requirement that someone must fuel you from the outside. There will be days when no one encourages you. Days when no one sees your progress. Days when no one acknowledges your effort. Days when no one understands what you're building. If your motivation depends on applause, you will stop on the days when silence arrives, and silence always comes. That is why internal motivation is essential. Internal motivation is born from purpose, not praise. It comes from knowing why you're doing what you're doing. When the reason is big enough, the effort becomes automatic. People who rely on external motivation work based on feelings. If they feel inspired, they work. If they don't, they quit. People who rely on internal motivation work based on clarity. They don't wait for a feeling, they rely on a decision. They don't wait for someone to push them, they push themselves. Internal motivation is stronger because it comes from a place no one can touch. No criticism can weaken it, no doubt can shake it, no obstacle can stop it. When you have internal motivation, you may feel tired, discouraged, or challenged, but you do not quit. You keep going because you understand that discipline must lead and feelings must follow. Internal motivation is built from three powerful sources. One, a clear vision of your future. When you know exactly where you want to go, you don't need someone to remind you to move. Your vision pulls you forward. It becomes your compass, your map, and your fuel. A deep sense of responsibility. When you understand that your future depends on you, your decisions, your effort, your discipline, you stop waiting for help. You stop depending on motivation from others. You take ownership. 3, a commitment to self-respect. When you do what you say you will do, you build trust with yourself. And that trust becomes motivation. You want to keep winning because you like the person you are becoming. Internal motivation also makes you resilient. People who rely on encouragement get discouraged when faced with setbacks. People who rely on internal motivation see setbacks as part of the journey. They adjust, learn, adapt, and continue. Internal motivation turns work into purpose. It turns discipline into pride. It turns sacrifice into strength. And the most important thing, internal motivation is infinite. It grows with you. The more you achieve, the more fuel you generate, the more disciplined you become, the more confidence you develop, the more consistent you remain, the more unstoppable you feel. When you rely on internal motivation, you are free. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You don't need reminders. You don't need someone standing behind you to push you. You push yourself because you know your dream deserves someone fully committed to it, and that someone must be you.